Florida State fans have complained about recruiting and wanted it to be better at FSU, but they're surprisingly not alone. I was in a meeting with Mike Norvell on Sunday, and he was asked directly about why Florida State isn't recruiting in the top 10 and whether or not that was a goal. I'm going to play you exactly what he said, and then we're going to talk about it. First, what I will tell you is I completely expected him to, one, dodge this answer, because coaches love coach speak. It's not just a Mike Norvell thing only. And two, I kind of expected him to say, hey, we've got our own evaluations. We're really happy with the guys that come in for multiple reasons. One, coaches don't like to admit defeat. Number two, they don't want to talk bad about the kids that did end up coming here, right? We can understand that some of the guys are projects and 3-stars, but I don't think it's a great look for Norvell or any coach to say, yeah, man, we're not recruiting good enough. These guys that we're bringing in suck. Not that he would ever say that, but the implication of, yeah, we're not recruiting good enough is not something I think that would go over super well. So when he was asked why they're not recruiting in the top 10 and if that was a goal, here was his answer.
I mean, you always want to get the best that you can get. You're at each position that fit your program. I mean, yes, you're always trying to push to be better. You want to be competing at an elite level there nationally, and it's something that we're pushing for. You're finding the balance of whether it's whatever the year calls for, high school to transfer to be able to address needs. I think that's one of the bigger dynamics when you look at college football as a whole. Just how rosters have, how much movement there's been in rosters over the last few years. You got to be able to pick and choose. I mean, there's plenty of ways that you can push your numbers in recruiting, and there's ways that we got to be able to find what is the best, what is the right fit for our team at that time, and what it is for short term, and what are you looking for it to be long term. And we have it's a very strategic plan, and there's a lot of conversations that go in, and just to make sure that we're addressing our roster at the current spot, but also with eyes for the future.
So I like this a lot. He admits, yeah, we need to get better. We need to be in that top range nationally. And he's been just outside of it at times. They've kind of fallen behind at times. And when I look at Florida State, we've talked enough about recruiting that you probably understand my take on this. They need to be top 10, right? If you recruit at top 10 level consistently, you're probably going to be making the playoff. If you recruit at a top 10 level consistently, you're probably going to be competing for the ACC every year, right? That's just how things work. There's only 2 programs in this conference that can recruit consistently at a top 10 level in Clemson and Miami. If you are the third one, your roster will look similar, maybe not as good. I think those programs at times can recruit a little bit better. I think they've got a little bit more recruiting prowess, but you need to be top 10. I really liked this question. Matt Lasser asked it over at War Chant, and I thought it was pretty direct, and I was a little bit surprised. I was talking with some buddies afterwards. I was a little bit surprised that it was asked so directly, hey, why are we not in top 10? Is that a goal of yours? Are you even trying to get there? Because we haven't gotten there yet. I'll get right back to chatting about Norvell, but first, if you're feeling tired, sluggish, or just a little bit off, low testosterone could be the culprit there. My friends over at Emerald Medical, which several of you have reached out to me about, some of you have reached out to them already, is here to help. They will help you reclaim your energy with hormone replacement therapy. You can use our code right now, DFNS, for Double Fries No Slaw, for a free consultation and to save on your journey to feeling like you again. Their owner, Chris, is a huge Florida State fan and as well as an alum, and at Emerald Medical, they will offer personalized care that you can trust. You can call them today at 772-307-9840, or if you want to go online, you can go to emeraldhrt.com. Remember the code DFNS, schedule your free consultation, save some money, and get back to feeling like the real you. And I like Norvell's answer a ton. The first thing I'll say about it, though, is that fans will tell you on social media, in the YouTube, some people will say it here on this video. Fans will tell you that recruiting doesn't matter. Fans will tell you that high school doesn't matter anymore because of this, that, the other. If high school didn't matter, Mike Norvell and his staff wouldn't be trying to flip talent from Alabama. They wouldn't be trying to get talent to come in and visit at the rate that they are, right? They wouldn't be investing and changing entire staffs essentially to make recruiting better. Florida State had a pretty good coaching staff. Now, there were weaknesses on some development areas, but they had a pretty good coaching staff that, even look at the rise of the linebacker room and how much better that is. But Mike Norvell made a ton of changes to his staff for recruiting. And I asked him about that later. We'll get to that video in a minute. But I do think that recruiting matters. And Mike Norvell's answer tells you that recruiting matters. He admits that they are trying to be in that top 10. Have they fallen short? More often than not, absolutely. Do they need to get better? Absolutely. But don't let people trick you. Don't let people lie to you. Don't let fan sites or whomever tell you that recruiting doesn't matter and that it's not important to this staff. It absolutely does. It is a major focus of this staff. Like I said earlier, Mike is not just going to out and out say that they stink at it, but he's definitely admitting that it hasn't been good enough. The deeper question I think about this, now that we understand that Mike's goal is to be in that top 10 or to be at the upper tier of that top 10. He didn't say that because he wasn't asked directly. But I do think that now that we've established that, Mike understands what the expectation is, what the standard is for recruiting here at Florida State. The bigger question to me is, does he know what it takes to succeed? Does he know what it takes to get into that top 10? Does he have the ability to get into that top 10? People have posed all kinds of questions about him never working in a big time program, right? Other coaches have come up under Saban or, under Kirby or under Urban Meyer. And then they've worked through that way, right? Napier worked under both Dabo and Saban. Mario worked under Saban, and Mike's career path has taken a different route. And people have questioned does he not understand because he's never worked at a big time recruiting program? I think there's probably some validity to that. I think that Mike's career path of having to go out and do the best you could do with the limited resources you have, whether at Memphis or Arizona State or whatever, I do think that's probably some of it. Take some time to figure that out, figure out how to really close against the big boys. But Mike's in it for the right guys. Not to run down the entire list, but Mike's in it for the Travis Hunters. Mike's in it for the KJ Boltons. Mike's in it for the Keldrick Falks. Mike's in it for the Armando Blunts and the LJ McCrays and the others that we've been right there on. And he's landed some big ones. I know that Hakeem didn't work out, but he landed him. I know that Luke didn't work out, but he landed him. He's in it, but for some reason just not able to get across the finish line. The biggest thing to me is staff accountability. And hopefully with this new staff, which again, I asked him about the new staff and we'll talk about that in a future video. So make sure that you are subscribed. I do think staff accountability is a big thing. And if somebody's not pulling their weight at your job, my job, Florida State football, wherever, I do think that hard choices need to be made. And he did that this offseason. Some would argue a little too late. Some would argue it should have happened earlier. Whatever. Water under the bridge now. Can't do much about it. Staff accountability is a big part of it. I think it's hard for Mike to be cutthroat. I think it's hard for Mike to be Nick Saban on this stuff and just say, hey, dog, you ain't pulling your weight. Get the hell out. But I do think that that's part of it. I do think Norvell also at this point, he understands what it takes to be successful. It's just more of a question of, one, will he hold the staff accountable? And two, does he have enough juice to pull it off? And that's probably the bigger aspect. He didn't have enough juice after 10 and 13 win seasons, and he certainly doesn't now after a 2 and 10 season. But if Mike is here longer term than just a year or two, if FSU can win 8, 9+ games this year, does that start to change with the new staff, with more accountability, with a refocus and a re-intentionality about being the best, about having that goal and getting into that top 10? We'll see. But for all of the high school recruiting doesn't matter, folks, Norvell admits here that it does, and that they just haven't been good enough. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think? This was probably one of my favorite answers that he gave when we sat down together. I think that coaches so often talk in coach speak. They talk in circles. They don't admit anything. Here he actually admitted that they haven't been good enough and they need to be in that top 10. And I thought that was good to hear. I was afraid as soon as I heard the answer that he would just say, well, we love the guys we brought in. They're Florida State fits. They buy into our culture. They do all this stuff, which all those things are important. Don't get me wrong. But give me a 5-star that buys into the culture over a 3-star that buys into the culture every day of the week, right? That's really what Mike Norvell understands, and hopefully we start to see more of. I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to Double Fries, No Slaw.